What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to Show and Tech. So when you hear the name AirPods, you can immediately think in your mind what those are because they've been the most popular truly wireless earbuds for at least the last 2 years running. Now, Soundcore has come out with a pair of truly wireless earbuds that I call flagship killers because they're cost effective, super affordable, and they do not compromise when it comes to sound or their ANC capabilities. So today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the AirPods Pro versus the Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pros. So how are we going to break these down? We're going to take a look at their price, the look, the design, the fit, battery life, their controls, and most importantly, how they sound. So starting off with the price, you can find the AirPods Pro for $249 from apple.com, or if you're somebody that shops on Amazon or you wait for certain deal weekends, you can find them as cheap as $199. On the flip side, the Liberty Air 2 Pros come in at a retail price of $130. However, because they just came out and there's a ton of promotions going on, especially for someone that already owns Soundcore products, you can get these for as cheap as $89. So focusing on the look, the design, and the fit of the AirPods Pro, there's really not much to say. I mean, they've been out for a pretty long time. We know what they look like. We know how comfortable they are. And for whatever reason, when they first dropped, people hated the actual shape and silhouette of these guys. They made fun of them and pretty much said that they look like a particular Pokemon, if you remember those jokes and memes from back in the day. But overall, I think the design has gotten a lot more acceptable by the general public. So I see them a lot more during broadcasts. I see podcasters wearing them. You see social media influencers wearing them in their videos as well. Overall, I know that people still prefer the look of the regular AirPods and are still kind of getting used to that look of the AirPods Pro, especially how they sit in the ear. But overall, for me, I like their design, I like the silhouette, and I like how small they are. Also, something that you may have already been aware of with regards to these is they do not have touch sensors like the regular AirPods do. So whenever you want to change or manipulate your music, you use what's called a capacitive touch feature, where you just squeeze on the stock of one of the earbuds while they're in your ear, and that's what you're going to use in order to play, pause, skip forward, skip backwards, etc. Now that mechanic I think is a great one because it's very hard to miss when it comes time to do any manipulations that you're looking to affect on your media. Now, what makes the design of these a absolute game changer is that they have their own proprietary ear tips. So there's no protruding plastic stock that kind of sticks in your ear and makes it uncomfortable, number one. And number two, they have what are called little air vents on it so that when you put these in your ear, even though they have those ear tips that go directly into your ear canal and create that seal, you don't have that plugged up and stuffy feeling where your voice is kind of reverbing in your head, because those air vents are designed to sort of balance the pressure inside of your ear canal with the atmospheric pressure as well. Now, moving on to the design of the Liberty Air 2 Pros. Funny how that name sounds so much longer. You know, the design is very similar to the Liberty Air 2s, and there's a lot of people out there that loved that design. These ones are just a touch different. The stalks are a little bit wider. The bulb part that goes into your ear is just a little bit larger, but overall, they're still pretty comfortable and they still look pretty good when they're sitting in your ears. Now, going back to those two game changer points of the AirPods Pro, these guys don't have that air vent in order to make it more comfortable so that you don't feel stuffed up while you have these in your ear. And then as for the overall fit, they do have the typical silicone tips on them. So if you want to buy a third-party tip in order to get these to fit your ear just right, then you can do that. But again, these ship with 9 different sizes of ear tips in the box. The AirPods Pro only come with 3. So you're able to get a much more customized fit when you're trying to get these to sit just right. And then as for the carrying cases, they're both a pretty good size. I mean, the case of the AirPods is pretty much still undefeated with how small it is and how easy it is to just slip this into your pocket or into a carrying pouch. If you saw my video for my iPad Pro, this fits into one of the MOLLE slots of my iPad Pro case so easily, whereas this guy cannot. I do like how easy it is just to flip this open and flip it shut, whereas this has a nice sliding mechanism, and both are, in my opinion, pretty satisfying. So this just quick slide up and down. It's easy to flip this out of your pocket and just use a thumb to flip it up and access your earbuds right away. Whereas sometimes when I take my AirPods Pros out, you do have some issues flipping it open where you have to use 2 hands, but really that's just a nitpick. At the end of the day, both of these battery cases are great and you're not gonna have an issue with either one that you pick. one fits in your pocket a little bit better than the other just based on the size. Now, with respect to battery life, we all know that with truly wireless earbuds, the cases are also considered their battery powers. Now, on both of these earbuds, both of them having active noise cancellation, you're actually gonna get 6 hours on each of them. So whichever one you go with is gonna be 6 hours of playtime continuously through each of the earbuds. When you throw them back in the case, it's gonna be able to charge them up fully an additional 4 times. So that's gonna give you a total of 24 to 26 total hours of playback if you include the charging cases. If you're somebody like me who prefers to mostly have just one in, so I usually just have my left one in, whether I'm using the AirPods or I'm using my Liberty Air 2s. So you're gonna get a little bit more use out of them just due to the fact that you're not constantly charging 2 separate batteries. You're only refilling one of them at a time. So your usage might double in total when it comes to using the cases. But overall, I think 24 to 26 hours is a very long time. I've seen a lot of people complain and say, I would expect it to be 40 or whatever it might be, but no one's going to listen to their music for 40 hours at a time. And I think we'd all be happy only having to charge either of these once every 2, 3, 4 weeks anyways. So really and truly, 24 to 46 hours is perfect on both. Okay, so as for the controls, we talked about it a little bit before where this uses a capacitive touch, so you're able to squeeze. I love that mechanic because when you squeeze it, it has an audible feedback sound, so you know that you actually input a command. So for example, if I wanted to do a triple squeeze in order to send my music backwards, I can hear 3 distinct clicks, 1, 2, 3, click, 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 and I know that I've input the command properly. On these guys here, the Liberty Air 2s, because it's a touch sensor, you really don't know if you've touched the sensor in the right spot and what kind of response you're gonna get out of it. So if you're gonna do a double tap or a triple tap, it gets kind of annoying not knowing if you've actually input that command until you've heard that, oh, I didn't do it right. So then you kind of start tapping it more than once, 3, 4, 5 times, and you never really know what's gonna happen. So as I said, when it comes to controlling both these guys here, you get way more control and way more consistency on the AirPods Pro just because of that immediate feedback of knowing that you've input the command properly, whereas on these guys here, you're kind of guessing. Now, what's really cool about both is that they both have ear detection. So if a song is playing and you take your AirPods out of your ear, it's gonna stop the song immediately. And the same thing's gonna happen when you're using your Liberty Air 2 Pros. Not only that, but it's able to detect if you have one or both in, so that when you put both in, immediately it switches the ANC on, and that goes for both of these guys here. You can switch that feature on the Liberty Air 2s if you don't like the auto detection. I don't know why you'd want to turn that off, but the functionality is there. And finally, but most importantly, the sound. So we all know that the AirPods Pro do not have the best sound profile. They use what's called an adaptive EQ. So you're not able to actually go in and customize anything. The sound signature that Apple gives you is the sound signature that you either have to like or love. There are apps out there where you can download them and kind of play with it just a little bit. But in terms of the overall sound profile, the AirPods Pro are bright, but at the same time, very flat in terms of their bass. Whereas the Liberty Air 2 Pros, feeding off of the same technology of the Liberty Air 2s of last year, these sound excellent and have a ton of customizability. So there's a dedicated Soundcore app that you can use to change the EQ settings immediately, or if you just want to affect, just the bass, you can do that. But my preferred sound signature is the custom one called Hear ID. So you throw the Liberty Air 2s into your ears, you turn on Hear ID, it runs you through a series of frequency range tests to see what you can hear and can't hear, and then it creates a custom profile for you. I've always found that next to the presets, my custom has always sounded amazing. So I don't play with any of the presets really, I just use my Hear ID custom profile. Now, with regards to the active noise canceling on either of these, because that does fall under the sound, the AirPods Pro definitely have the better noise canceling capabilities. These are able to block out a lot. The Liberty Air 2 Pros, while their noise canceling is pretty good, I'd rate it at like a 70 to 75%, whereas these I would say is more so like a 90 to 92%. I think with a couple firmware updates, which Soundcore is known to do a lot of, this is only going to start to get better with the Liberty Air 2s. So don't sleep on them just yet. Yes, the ANC isn't as good, but it's definitely going to get there, and it's going to get there soon. Now, with respect to the ambient sound mode, so being able to turn ANC off and actually pick up the outside environment and feed that through to your ears. Again, the AirPods Pro are unmatched. I don't know what Apple does, but with the ambient sound mode on both these and their AirPod Maxes, it's incredible. I mean, sometimes it sounds better than not having earphones on at all. It's weird. Whereas these guys still have that sort of robotic, almost plugged up sound that you hear from other companies that try to do that ambient sound mode, such as Jabra, for example. It doesn't sound the best, but it's still there. So you do have the option. And like I said, I do think in time it'll get better, but the AirPods are definitely still the king of ambient and ANC sound modes. And so that's pretty much it. That's a quick overview of the AirPods Pro versus the Liberty Air 2 Pros. Both are very good devices, but definitely made for different types of people. So if you're someone that is deeply invested into the Apple ecosystem, it's going to be very hard to give up something like the AirPods Pros because of how well they just work with the Apple ecosystem. So I'm able to switch from my iPad to my MacBook to my phone seamlessly. It knows whatever I'm watching media on and it just flips over to it and everything's good to go. If you're expecting something like that out of the Liberty Air 2 Pros while using all of your Apple devices, it's not necessarily going to work. But if you're someone that cares about sound over anything, or you use typically Android devices and really don't care about the Apple ecosystem, then I see no reason why you'd pay way more money to get these guys to use them on something that doesn't work as well with them. So in terms of buying a product that works for everything, I would say definitely go with the Soundcores. If you're someone that is only worried about Apple products, then definitely just go with the AirPods Pro. And so in an effort to keep this video as short as possible, that's it for me. If you guys got any questions for me, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. You know that I answer absolutely everything. So I'll get back to you probably within a couple hours of you dropping your question. So hope you guys enjoyed that video. Hope it answered most of your questions for those of you who are on the fence about AirPods Pro or their alternatives. Much love as always, throwing up 2 of them, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.